So the Nothing Phone 1, it did release in the US for $299. And you might be wondering if you should buy it and if it's worth buying, and you might just wonder how good of a phone it is, or even how good it will work with your cell phone carrier. Well, I'm gonna let you know all about the Nothing Phone 1 in this full review. So with all that being said, let's get right into it and let's talk about the Nothing Phone 1. So the Nothing Phone 1, I did order it through Nothing, and you go to this website. I'll have a link in the description below, and when you go through that, you do have to sign up for a beta membership. And don't worry, it's not a monthly membership you're signing up for. You're really just buying the phone and just saying you're going to use it and yada yada. But you do only have 10 days to return the phone. You do have to contact customer service if you want to contact them about it, and they don't give you good warranty support that I know of, at least. Now maybe they will take care of you if you contact them, but I wouldn't guarantee that. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But for that, and in exchange for that, you're getting a $299 Nothing Phone, which is a great price for this device. Now beyond that, I did sign up, I purchased the phone, they shipped the phone to me from Hong Kong, and it took about 3 or 4 days for me to get it. I was shocked at how quick it was to arrive in the US. They used FedEx and it got to me very, very quickly. In fact, it got to me a little quicker than a package from Texas or other places like that. FedEx is normally awfully slow for me, so the fact that a package from Hong Kong got here quicker was a little bit strange. But regardless, it did get here, it got here quickly, and I put my SIM card in the phone, and surprisingly, it did work very well with my carrier. So this phone does not support 5G, even though technically 5G is showing up in my phone, and I don't have a 5G tower anywhere around, so it's very strange that it's saying 5G when I don't have 5G, but whatever the case, it's saying it does not support 5G for Verizon, it does not support 5G for AT&T, and it only supports one band of 5G for T-Mobile. So there are some different towers, if I'm going to summarize this, that will not work with this phone. This phone was actually made to work overseas with their towers. They use a little bit of different technology overseas, so you may notice that no matter which carrier you use, there may be a tower in your area that won't actually work with this phone. However, in my experience, in my area works just fine with this phone. Whenever I was traveling through town, I did hit a little bit of a dead spot, and some phones actually disconnect from the tower at that dead spot, and this phone did disconnect. However, outside of that minor hiccup, which a lot of other phones have, I did have LTE just fine in my area. But there are some other carrier limitations they say. They do say 5G, of course, is not supported with AT&T, but also, additionally, voice over LTE and voice over Wi-Fi will not work with AT&T. They also say 5G is supported with T-Mobile, however, not all 5G bands are supported, like I said. And they also mention one other thing, compatibility with Verizon is limited, and they do say that you do need to contact Verizon customer service if you want this phone to work. Now with US Mobile, I just had to pop in my SIM card, and maybe it will work for you if you do the same with Verizon. However, I have noticed Verizon does have issues with odd phones like this. You may have to contact customer support, and even then, it might not work with Verizon. So please keep that in mind. But if you're willing to take that risk, you are getting this phone for a very, very cheap price at $299. That's $100 cheaper than it actually is overseas. And when you actually try this phone out for yourself, I'm telling you, this phone is a steal for $299. First off, the build quality of this device is sensational. Like if you look at this phone, of course this phone is known for having a clear back and all of these lights that actually light up when you get phone calls. And you can even customize these ringtones. There's various ringtones that you can use, and those will actually light up your phone in different ways. If you actually use a custom song as well, these lights will still light up when you get a phone call, and that's pretty cool if you have your phone on your desk and if you have a a clear case or no case at all, it will be really cool that you get all those lighting patterns. Realistically, it's not a huge deal for most people, so these lights aren't amazing, they're not super crazy, but it's still really cool to have a unique feature, especially when most phones are boring and bland. On the front of this phone, they do have a screen protector that came on the device. I was pretty impressed with that. But even beyond that, the phone feels a little bit to me like the Essential phone. The Essential phone was amazing. I loved it. I love the design. This has a unique square form factor. Everything's squared off, and it just looks so nice. It feels nice. You have a gorgeous premium glass back. You also have a really nice feeling phone that feels very good on the sides as well. So I love the build quality. In fact, I would pick the build quality of this over something like the Google Pixel 7. But this nothing phone, regardless of the warranty potential issues down the road, with the price that you're getting at, I am telling you, you are getting some of the best build quality you would get out of any phone. Now you do have a fingerprint sensor. I do think it's a little bit low on the screen. It's at the bottom of the screen here. I wish it was a little bit higher. But beyond that, this phone, it's a 6.5-inch phone. It's 6.55 inches. It's got a 2400 by 1080 resolution on the display, and that's a really good resolution for the display. This phone does wirelessly charge. It does have water resistance. It does have 120 hertz on the display. It has an OLED display, and it has very good performance in the US. A Snapdragon 778G Plus. That is a pretty good processor, especially for the money. So when you factor in all those specs, I don't know any phone under $500 that has those type of specs in the US. Sure, you could get a phone on sale, you could buy a phone used, but at that price at $299 to get 120 hertz, again, the Google Pixel 6a does not have that. If you look at something like OLED, well, a lot of phones at this price don't have that. Or wireless charging. You can also not get the Google Pixel 6a with wireless charging. This does have 33-watt wired charging as well, which is pretty good. And it has a really nice fingerprint sensor that is actually pretty reliable and pretty fast. So the experience on this phone as well, if you look at the software reminds me again of the Essential phone because it's very, very stock Android. In fact, in ways, it's actually more stock than Google software because there's not a lot of apps that come on this phone originally, and the software just feels so buttery smooth when I'm using it. It feels absolutely great and smooth as I'm scrolling through apps, as I'm going through my day-to-day stuff. It feels absolutely great. Furthermore, battery. This phone has a really good battery, 4,500 milliamps. That is going to give you great battery life. And of course, the display. The display looks great. When I'm watching videos on this phone, it looks tremendous. And again, especially at this price, I just don't see a lot of devices with a display like this. So I've just got to be honest, this phone, it checks the boxes. If you go to performance, I know a lot of you might be worried about that Snapdragon 778G Plus. And it's not the best processor in the world if you look at something like benchmarks, but realistically, it has not really slowed down for almost anything that I've done. When I go between apps, this phone does go between apps very quickly. I can open up the apps I need, I can go to the news, I could check out YouTube, and then I could float around and check out Best Buy or Amazon or all these other apps that I use, and I don't have any hiccups or any slowdowns. Now sure, if you play a game like Genshin Impact, again, those very high-performing games, of course, those will need a little bit of a better GPU, and you are going to have a little bit of slowdowns if you try to play on the highest graphics. So no, this isn't the phone that you're going to game on at the very high settings on every game. But if you're just playing something like Call of Duty like I do, maybe you're going to play NBA 2K or a game like that, this phone will do terrific for those things. And you're going to be able to even play those games at very high settings with no issues. And because you have a more battery efficient processor like that Snapdragon, it's going to be able to handle stuff without draining all of your battery. A lot of these high-end phones, they have power you don't realistically need because this phone will be just as fast day to day as a lot of other phones that I use. This phone feels just as fast as a Google Pixel 7, for example, but the Google Pixel 7 will drain a little extra power because of the processor that it uses. So this having a 4,500 milliamp battery is going to do just fine in the day-to-day. It's going to last very long, but that processor isn't going to slow it down. If anything, it's just going to help your battery life. So a gorgeous display, 120 Hz, great battery life, 8 gigabytes of RAM in the base model, and that's the model you do get in the US. So the RAM is just fine as far as multitasking. The resolution on the display, again, is absolutely great. This does have wireless charging, water resistance, a good fingerprint sensor. It's just a little bit low for my liking. So what about the camera? Well, the camera is good. It's not great. I would say it's a step below the Google Pixel 6a. It's a step below phones like the Google Pixel 7, but it's really, really close. The shutter speed is very, very quick, so I would argue this phone is going to have a better camera than something like the Galaxy A53 because it's going to have very good shutter speed. It's going to take pictures quickly, and the quality of these pictures in good lighting, I'm telling you, this phone does have very good pictures. It does have a 50 megapixel camera, and the camera does very, very good on this phone. This phone also does record 4K video as well. So it does a good job with video. It's not the greatest, but this is a realistic budget phone or a mid-range phone, but it feels very premium. So if I'm going to summarize this review, I would say the Nothing phone is definitely a phone I would recommend. You just have to keep in mind the risks, of course, that you have with buying it in the US. There are some things that you might want to consider with your carrier and with your prepaid carrier, right? Because I can't test it with every prepaid carrier on the market, and some might be a little more strict. But you could always ship it back, contact customer service, and they should be able to hopefully work with you with any returns. So what do you think of this Nothing phone? Is it worth buying? Are you going to buy it in the US? And if you have, do you like it? Tell us about your experience in the comments, and let me know if you have any questions about this phone as well. But overall, I would say this is a tremendous phone, and it's one of the best values you could buy if you're willing to take the risk of buying a phone that doesn't have great support as far as warranty and everything like that. So let me know again what you think. Use the links in the description that can help as well to support my channel. And by the way, you could always leave any comments with any questions. Check out some other videos if you get a little bit of time. And I do hope you have a great day, and I hope you enjoy your week.